You're listening to episode 116, Leveled Up Leadership. Welcome to the Boss Bitch Rising podcast. My name is Coach Kale Roberts and I am your host. I am a mindset and transformational coach with over 10 years of experience as an entrepreneur. I went from being homeless in 2016 to building a multiple six-figure online coaching business. I am passionate about those that I have the opportunity to serve, and so I'm grateful you're here. My coaching method combines science, spirituality, and strategy, which elicits powerful transformations, leading you to massive elevation in your success. I am the founder of the Collective Conscious Coaching Academy, Institute for coaches, mentors, leaders, guides, and healers. This is where I develop influential, heart-centered people. I share weekly episodes inside the Boss Bitch Rising podcast where I discuss subjects like psychology, the subconscious mind, human energetics, manifestation, business strategy, and more. I'm excited to hop into our next episode and I'm so grateful you're here. Now let's rise up. What is up, my love? Welcome back to the Boss Bitch Rising podcast. As always, I am so grateful you're here for today's episode, talking all about leveled up leadership. Now, this is a part of a new series called Conversations with Influential People. And although I'm not having a conversation with anyone today is a solo episode. I want to come on every other week when there isn't an interview and give you a solo episode centered around different topics or aspects of leadership. And so in this episode today, I really want to talk about the difference between a leader and a manager and an influencer, and how all of those things also differ from being a coach. I want to talk about the qualities of a high-level leader, and I also want to kind of describe what the 5 levels of leadership looks like, and then how you can ascend through each one of them. Today's episode is going to be so packed full of really good information, especially if you're looking to impact and influence people on a higher level. Speaking of which, impact and influence, I am hosting a free workshop at the end of April called Impact and Influence. If you want to be a part of this free workshop, all you have to do is go to my website and register for your spot inside of this workshop. The website link is kaleroberts.com/links, LINKS, and that's where you can find the registration for Impact and Influence, my free workshop for leaders who are looking to level up their impact and influence. And I cannot wait to see you there. All right, so without further ado, let's hop right into today's episode. So I first want to start with understanding the difference between a coach, a leader, a manager, and an influencer. Because although, at the surface, it might seem like all 4 of these different types of people can be very similar to one another, and they are in many ways, there's also very clear differences and things that separate each one from each other. So we have a coach, a leader, a manager, and an influencer. And I first want to start with understanding what a coach actually is. What are the traits of a coach? Well, coaches always have a main focus, right? Whether you're a money coach, a relationship coach, a business coach, any type of coach has that main focus. They understand what the focus is for each coaching session, what the desired outcomes are for their clients, and how they can deliver into what that main focus is and what those desired outcomes are. They are the mentor that is near proximity for their client. The go-to person is the coach for their client, and they're often called upon by their clients on a very regular basis, whether it's having daily contact, via text message or email, or even, FaceTime and voice message, weekly coaching calls or bi-weekly coaching calls. They are a high-touch individual in the lives of their clients, especially during the time that they're going through, facilitating these transformations. They focus on mentoring their clients through each step of the process towards achieving their desired outcomes. So, being that the coach and the client are going to be spending a lot of time together during the coaching container, it's imperative that they both enjoy working with each other and they like each other. Part of the reason for this is because they're going to be talking and communicating so frequently. If you don't like communicating with somebody, or there's like tension, or it's weird, or whatever else, then the coaching client relationship probably is not going to be a good fit. Having a personal connection and affinity within the relationship with that mentor or mentee is important. This also helps to build that trust factor. Of course, if you're guiding somebody to heal old wounds, if you're guiding somebody through challenges that they've never experienced before, if you're guiding someone towards a desired outcome that is like so far beyond their current reality that it's almost hard for them to even believe in, then it's important that they trust you, they like you, they enjoy working with you, and that they actually respect the guidance that you're giving them, that they actually are safe enough within that vulnerable space to open up a little bit more and share a little bit more and go deeper within their healing and step through those things, those challenges, those fears that they have that have been holding them back for such a long time. So having established rapport and actually enjoying the coach-client relationship dynamic is so important. But what do you do if you don't actually like the coach-client relationship dynamic, or if you feel like the dynamic isn't quite aligned? Well, this has actually happened to me in the past where I felt working with a client wasn't aligned, and I actually had the conversation and I opened the invitation for the client to look for another more aligned coach. At that particular time, I did not have a reference for them. Of course, if I had somebody that I could directly reference them to or refer them to, I totally would have. At this point in my coaching career, I would actually do a little bit of research and say, these are people that I'm familiar with that I think might be more aligned for you. But I just wanted to express this, verbalize it so that we're on the same page, and just open the invite for us to have that conversation of what it is that I'm looking for and value in the coach-client relationship, but also what it is that might be more beneficial for the client in my professional opinion. This is something that's in alignment with integrity, which is one of my core values, and I always have had a positive experience from doing this. Of course, in the very beginning of having this conversation, it does feel a little weird, I'm not gonna lie, because the client feels like maybe they did something wrong, or maybe you don't actually like them, when that's not necessarily the case. If working together just isn't aligned, or maybe you're just not the right coach for them, it is important to verbalize that. It is important to let them know that there are other options out there for them that would probably be more aligned and a better fit, and you think it's best if they explore those options. And you're holding the space for them to do that. Now, if you both choose to continue working together, beautiful. But at least you've had this conversation, and having this conversation will likely increase the trust between the two of you. The client now knows that you have their best interests at hand, that you're willing to verbalize things like this to them so they can make the best decision for themselves, that you're not just in it to collect that monthly payment from them, that fat check, if you will. You're actually in it because you care about their results. And having this conversation has always benefited me and the client tremendously. Both instances, when the client has chosen to go off and work with somebody else, but also when the client decided to stay. In both cases, I've always maintained a positive relationship with the individual, and they've always had a powerful outcome, whether it was with me or with another more aligned coach. So this is something that I think is really important for you to consider as well, especially if you're a coach. At one point or another in your coaching career, you're going to come to this point where you have to make the decision whether you want to continue working with a client that isn't aligned with your values. And it's important to have that conversation, that clear, kind, constructive conversation with that individual, with your client, because this is what's going to help build that trust and that faith in themselves, and allow them to understand that you truly are invested, you truly do care in their results. So I would say this is a good transition point to knowing the difference between a coach and a leader. Usually coaches are really focused on the individual, right? They have a very specific niche. They typically help and guide a very specific type of person towards a really similar outcome. Where leaders are a little bit more dynamic and typically focus more on a group aspect more than they do on an individual aspect, on an individual aspect in terms of who they're actually helping. Leaders are generally helping larger groups of people reach a desired outcome, really elevating the collective consciousness through guiding the group of people towards that desired outcome. Now, of course, coaches do have, groups that they lead and guide, but typically they're focused on one very specific outcome, and that's what they're providing. Where leaders are more dynamic and adapting to change and problems as they arise. Leaders typically are able to adapt their communication style to the groups or the individuals that they're leading. They understand a broader spectrum of individual personality types, behavioral analysis. They understand how to speak and communicate with different types of people, therefore lead multiple different types of personalities and learning styles and even backgrounds, races, religions, what have you, towards elevating the collective consciousness towards that desired outcome. I hope you're following here. So coaches are usually providing a very specific outcome, right? If you're a niched coach, you're providing a very specific solution within your niche. Where if you're a leader, yes, you might be going in a direction of a specific outcome, but there's multiple dynamics at play because you're leading larger groups of people and you're able to adapt within that large group of people because you have so many different types of personalities, learning styles, and communication styles. I would say that the biggest thing for leaders is really understanding how to effectively lead individuals of all different backgrounds towards that one desired outcome. Where typically coaches are the experts in their specific niche. It might be harder for a coach who is the expert in their specific niche to guide someone who is outside of their niche towards that one specific outcome that they're the expert in. Okay, I hope this is making sense for you here. So because leaders are so adept at effectively leading different types of people towards this desired outcome, they understand how to influence people properly and therefore become successful leaders. Leadership is a process, it's not necessarily a position, and that's what separates it from being a manager. Being a manager is an appointed position, and that doesn't necessarily mean that managers are effective leaders. You can be a natural born leader and pave your own way to being a high-level leader, or you can be an appointed leader, a leader that's appointed to a position and possibly lack the true characteristics and skills of being a quality leader. Or you could be both, someone who is appointed and also encompasses the characteristics and skills of a high-level leader who also learns how to pave their own way in a particular industry. So you can gain influence with others by influencing their beliefs and teaching them how to think about themselves, others, and the world. You can also challenge them to develop their values, their skill sets, their character, connections, and their contribution out to the world. And of course, you have to be a leader by example. It's really hard to influence people if you're not actually being the example for them. So embodying the characteristics that you wish to evoke in others is how you can be a more effective and influential leader. Good leaders not only work well with others, but they're able to organize others, especially people from backgrounds that they're maybe not so familiar with. And they can create an action plan to reach the desired goal, then appropriately delegate tasks to reach the desired outcome in a timely and efficient manner. So the difference here between coaches and leaders is leaders are actually helping to develop skills within people to kind of make the flow of the working environment easier to elevate everything that they're working towards. Where coaches are simply teaching what they're the expert in, and then they're guiding the people that they're coaching towards that specific outcome. Leaders are a little bit more dynamic. Now, where is the difference here with managers? Managers are typically simply appointed people into a leadership position. This does not mean they're quality leaders. In fact, most managers lack actual leadership skills. They are more so concerned with the authority that they've been given, the title that they've been given, more than they are with actually helping to develop the whole group that they're in charge of leading to make the working environment easier, smoother, and more efficient. Some characteristics that all high-level leaders have are things like integrity, compassion, patience. They're active listeners, meaning they're actually listening to what the individual is saying. They're not just waiting for their chance to respond. High-level leaders are trustworthy, they're dependable, they're reliable. They have the ability to adapt, and they're focused on providing solutions and solving problems, meaning they are creative and flexible. They also are able to give effective feedback. They have timely and effective communication. Their communication is clear, kind, and direct. They are positive, they're optimistic, yet realistic. And they work well with others because they're emotional intelligent. High-level leaders take risks because of all of these things that I just mentioned. They take calculated risks and they're committed to what is important to them. They're committed to delivering results. They're committed to building up the morale of the collective. They're committed to making a difference. They're committed to creating solutions. They're committed and invested in empowering others. And because of all of this, they develop long-lasting relationships. High-level leaders are definitely at the top when it comes to the 4 different aspects that we've talked about so far today. Now, influencers are the last of the 4 that we have yet to address. Influencers can be high-level leaders, but in today's world that's so controlled by social media, we are most familiar with influencers being these pretty people online that, are selling things. And so when we actually take a look at what influencers actually are, especially in today's market, we're going to probably find that most influencers are able to build a reputation based off of an aesthetic, right? Whether it's the lifestyle, their look, their body, their whatever it is. They're able to build influence based off of an aesthetic. They create a lifestyle, an image, a brand aesthetic, and that is influencing people, and they're selling into that. So most influencers are really effective at creating things that are drawing people in, that is gearing up or generating, I should say, enthusiasm, that's generating curiosity, that's piquing appeal, but ultimately is for their benefit and their gain. So this is something that you have to consider when you're looking at these different types of leaders in different spaces. Coaches, leaders, you have mentors, you've got managers and influencers. When you're looking at these different types of leaders, you have to learn how to understand the difference between all of them so you know how much to invest your emotion, your time, your energy, your physical effort into these different types of situations. So I actually want to help you identify the different levels of leadership, and there's 5 of them. So at the base level, which is the first level, you have the appointed leader. People follow these types of leaders because they have to, not necessarily because they want to. These types of leaders are appointed into a position, whether it's, a manager, a boss at your job. It's likely that you've been led by an appointed leader at some point in your life, or maybe you had an appointed leadership position. These types of leaders aren't necessarily actual leaders. They've just been put into a leadership position despite whether they have the qualities and characteristics of high-level leaders or not. I know that I've had multiple times in my life where I've been appointed in leadership positions and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and it was frustrating for me. It was frustrating for everyone involved. And I know that there's been times in my life that I've been led by people who are appointed leadership positions that weren't effective leaders. This is probably the most uncomfortable area of the 5 layers of leadership just because some people are natural leaders, some people aren't. Some people who are appointed into leadership positions actually let that go to their head and they think they're hot shit, if you will, and take advantage of the situation, unfortunately, because they see themselves as better or higher than the people that they're leading and have been appointed to oversee. Now, they're on their little high horse and they're barking commands and they're not actually leading individuals, they're managing and commanding individuals. So if you're appointed into a leadership position, this is an invitation to ask yourself, how can I become a higher level leader? How can I more effectively lead the people that I've been appointed over? And the way that you move up through the 5 levels of leadership is to ask yourself, how can you earn the trust of the people that you're leading? And this takes us up into level number 2, which is the earned, trusted leader. People follow you here because they want to. You have earned their trust and have built the quality connections needed in order to rise into this next level of leadership. So if you take leadership seriously and you're actually wanting to elevate through those 5 levels, if you're in an appointed leadership position, but you want to become a more effective leader, ask yourself, how can I gain the trust of the people that I'm leading? And you do that by getting to know the individuals, getting to know their wants, needs, and desires, and then trying to couple that with the ultimate goal of how you're effectively leading these people, what you're leading them to. Really understanding people's learning style, communication style, and just meeting them where they're at and effectively communicating to them from where they're at to help develop their skill sets, to nurture their strengths, to develop their weaknesses, is how you're going to begin to move up the ladder or the levels of leadership. And then we'll move here into level number 3, which is the move maker leader. People follow you because you produce results. They know that they can rely on you. They know that they can trust you. They know that you have not only their best interest at hand, but you're going to effectively get everyone to that desired outcome. You get things done in a timely and efficient manner, and you can organize a group to work efficiently together. And this last piece of that, organizing a group to work efficiently together, actually means that you're identifying people's strengths and weaknesses. You're able to delegate tasks and you're able to position people in very strategic positions throughout the inner workings of the strategy to get to the desired outcome. And this is what leads us into level 4, developing other leaders. People follow you here because of what you have done for them. You help to develop other high-level conscious leaders in this 4th level of leadership. You've earned their trust. You've gotten to know the individuals where they're at. You're communicating to them effectively. You're delivering results, and you organize groups to work effectively together. And therefore, you're able to develop people into their own different level of leadership. And then here we move into level 5, which is the highest level, the conscious leader. People follow you because they respect you. You have this natural sense of charisma. You not only trust yourself, but you show people that you trust them as well. And how do you trust people that maybe you don't really know? Well, you're emotionally intelligent. You're able to identify different behavioral patterns in people or communication styles or learning styles. And you're speaking into that. You're speaking clear and kind. Your communication is constructive, meaning you're helping to build and develop people into the next level version of themselves. You're creating that safe space for people to not only feel safe in, but to also make mistakes in, learn and grow in. You're facilitating aligned action, aligned growth, aligned healing, aligned development. And in this alignment, you are actually up-leveling the collective consciousness of all of those that you have the opportunity to guide and lead. So through these 5 levels of leadership, where do you feel you most identify with right now? I actually have a free leadership guide and assessment that will help you understand exactly where you are on the 5 levels of leadership. There's a quiz that you can take to help you identify. It'll guide you through all of the steps, and it'll also give you step-by-step instructions on how you can start to develop other skill sets to elevate through the 5 different levels so you can begin immediately up-leveling your leadership skills. If you want to get this download, this free guide assessment for free, go to my website, kelroberts.com/links and download the free leadership guide and assessment. Again, it's a quiz, so it'll ask you some questions, you'll fill out different check boxes and really understand what level of leadership you're currently on, and then it will guide you in how to effectively up-level through the different levels, the 5 different levels. Again, you can download that for free at kelroberts.com/links, LINKS. And of course, my love, I hope to see you in my free workshop happening at the end of April, Impact to Influence. This is going to help you understand how to show up in the online space, stand out as the authority or the leader in your niche, begin signing and attracting new clients and customers, and making leadership as the authority effortless. To be a part of the free workshop happening at the end of April, you can also find the registration on my links page, which is kelroberts.com/links. That's where all of the things always live. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am always here to connect with you. I'd be happy to hop on a free call and really go over any questions you might have. How can I be a servant to you? How can I help guide you? The 2 first places to start would be downloading that free assessment and registering for the workshop. But of course, my love, if you have any other questions, I'm always here to help guide you forward. But until next week, my love, thank you so much for being here with me in today's episode. Ciao for now. Thank you for joining me in today's episode. I am so grateful you are here with us today. If you loved today's episode, take a screenshot, share it on social media, and tag me in it, because not only do I love to feel all the love, but I also love to hear your feedback. I love connecting with my audience, so let's get connected on social media. Find me, I am the Kale Collective on Instagram and kale.collective on TikTok. I love sharing value as much as I can, so I would love to get connected with you more further. Until next time, my love, rise up.